Hi there, it's Anne here on the Life LDC couch, and this is my August video blog. Life LDC channel is all about knitting and other things that catch my eye, so I hope you will get yourself a cup of tea and join me here while we have a chat for half an hour or so. August around here has been a month of day trips, and one of the things that we did was we went to a local farm. It's called Martin Sweet Farm, and there they have bees, and they also tap their trees, their maple trees, for maple syrup. So we visited. I picked up some honey and maple syrup for, especially for the fall. That's when I really like having pancakes and syrup. And sometimes I even put a little bit of syrup in coffee with whipped cream. It's really decadent, but you know, it's a Canadian thing. Anyway, so that was one of the things we did. So then the next thing I discovered was that just up the road from me here in Milton, there is a lavender farm, and it's called Kelso Lavender Farm. And it's the first year they've opened. I talked to the owner, and she said they planted all their lavender about 3 years ago. This is the first year that they had enough to harvest, and while I was there I picked up a bouquet of lavender, and I am drying it right now, and I'm going to make little lavender sachets. I'm going to share that experience with you next month. A knitting friend and I decided to go to join a group that was going up to the Koigu studio, the actual dye space where Koigu yarn comes from. It all comes from here in Ontario, a farm about 2 hours and 15 minutes northwest of here. So we got up, we went up early, a day early, stayed overnight, no one sound, and then went back down to Koigu the next morning and joined a group of ladies for a Koigu Dye Workshop. I had a deja vu moment there, because one of the a studio tour that I took way back, I think in 1992, the year that Koigu started, took hubby and I to this farm. We drove in, and there was all this yarn hanging on fences and on the porch and everything, and I saw this absolutely gorgeous garment. I'm going to share it with you here, and I got to try it on. It was just being finished, and it was the original Koigu Oriental jacket, and you can see it still fits me. I may be fluffier, but the jacket still fits because it's one of those oversized jackets. My friend, she got to try on some Koigu designs also. This second one with the bright green and the stripe, that's a brand new design that's going to be coming out in the fall. But the real adventure of the day was getting to dye some Koigu yarn, and you can see that we had totally different versions of what kind of yarn we wanted to do. And everybody in our group, there was 5 of us, there was 2 groups of 5. The first group, the 5 of us, we did something that was, each one of us did something totally different. And when the yarn was finished, we dyed it. It had been heated to set the dye. We rinsed it, and then we hung it out to dry outside. It was absolutely a gorgeous day for the yarn to be outside. I'm going to insert here a little tour of the Koigu facilities. It starts off, enter at the receiving area, of course, and then there's a little display set up there because we were just 1 week ahead of the Koigu tent sale. Then just down the hall, you pass the door that says restricted area. That's where all the dye secrets happened. we were in there doing our dyeing, and I just got a quick little glimpse in here, but no, I'm not sharing any of that. That's highly top secret Koigu information. Then down the hall you go, past all sorts of yarn that's hanging ready to be wound into skeins. And then there is the yarn inspiration room. This room, well, first of all, you have to go past all the stock room. We got to peek in there too. Then we went into the room of inspiration. This room has every Koigu sample from all of their publications. They're all on the wall. You get to try them on. You can look at them all, look at all the detail. And then there's a wall of sort of singleton colors, leftovers, maybe partial bags that weren't sold. They put the colors on this wall, and it's sort of arranged by color, but honestly, after we had all been through it, I'm sure they had to redo the whole wall. It was just absolutely glorious to look at. And there's also there was brand new samples from the new magazine there also. So it was just spectacular. Look at all these garments. Here they come. Look at all the sample garments. All there organized. Each bin was a different magazine or a different publication, and you could have a look at them all and try them on if you wanted to. Meanwhile, our dyeing efforts were outside, drying in the wind. They were absolutely gorgeous. Look at them. They're all different. There's my friend's. She went with the bright, and I went with a very autumnal mottled look, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So here is my hand-dyed effort. I haven't wound it into balls yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to, or if I'm going to try and somehow keep it in a great big hank like this. So my description of dye choice colors to Tayulandra was sort of a blue, a navy, but not dark, dark, dark blue. There it is there. I wanted a rust, and it sort of disappeared in the cooking. I wanted a honey gold, which was this color. And I'm trying to look to see if I can find a rust anywhere. I wanted a green, which seemed to blend into the blue, and with the gold it made this color here. And I have 2 skeins of it. The option was 1 or 2 skeins, so I picked 2 skeins. And I'm thinking that maybe this section right here represents the rust. But as you can see, the colors just blended beautifully, and I just absolutely love them. I can't wait to cast on with them. Well, look at this side when you turn it like that. Look at that side. Oh my goodness. I have to tell you, I sort of got the bug for dyeing yarn. I came home and I was all enthused, and there was another dye workshop being planned, and I really wanted to go in, and while I was dithering back and forth about whether I should go and maybe dye some more yarn to go with this, the class was sold out, so it took away the stress of deciding whether to go or not. So what am I going to do with this? I bet you're wondering, aren't you? Well, I've loved the color band pullover from Vogue magazine. I loved it when I saw it. I still love it. I love turtlenecks. I love just a plain boxy turtleneck. This one has a little bit of a set-in square top sleeve, and it's just plain stocking stitches. It looks like there might be a little bit of a roll at the bottom. And the pattern calls for 2 skeins of 6 colors, and they're done in small bands. And they're not faded, but I'm thinking it could be a really great option for a fade. So when I weigh my dyed yarn, it turns out I have equivalent of 6 skeins here in these 2 big skeins. 2 60-gram skeins in these 2 big skeins. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I have 300 grams of hand-dyed yarn. I need 12 Koigu skeins, so I need 600 grams. And that is for all of the sizes, I believe. Let me just check that. 2 1 3/4 ounce 50 gram skeins of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors. Yes, so 12. So I was looking at this and I'm thinking, I knew that that was, the pullover was what I wanted to do. And so while I was at Koigu, I bought some single skeins. They came actually in a sort of a 5 skein shade pack. So there was this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And you can see that they all bring out colors that are in these dyes. They bring out the shades that I used in my dye. So I could sort of fade these in and out to expand this amount of yarn. I also decided to go down to my stash room of requirement, and I found some yarn. It's Fine Art Rowan Fine Art sock yarn that might go with this. Well, look what I found. I think that sort of matches. And then I went down and I found this. Do you think this is too bright? But if it was faded in, it might be okay. I don't know. And then I found this. Maybe that's too blue. Too blue. I think this sort of sea greeny blue one is the best, don't you? So I'm not quite sure which way I'm going to go, but I am going to incorporate this yarn somehow into a turtleneck for this winter. So I've got to get knitting, right? Do you remember those socks that I'd found in my stash last month, and one was done and I just had to finish the other one? Well, I was good, and I did. I finished them. I finished the other sock to match. It sort of matches, but it doesn't. I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me that the stripes don't totally match up. I quite like these. I've worn them quite a few times already. Just a basic 3 knit 1 purl rib on the top and the heel flap and a short row toe. Finished object number 1. So I want to thank Ghislaine for recommending Roxanne Richardson. I did have a look at some of her videos, and I found a cast on that, a stretchy cast on that would help me. I've always found that the casting on at the top of the sock was very tight, and that's been one of the things that's bothered me about sock knitting. So I went down to my my sock stash, and I pulled out this Lang wool color superwash. It says it's washable in hot water. It's 75% wool, 18 polyamide, and 7 acrylic. And it says it's 45 grams plus a 5 gram. And I didn't really notice that until I knit all this of a sock, and I had this centerpiece. And then all of a sudden I felt that there was something in the center, and I pulled it out, and there was this. And it's not sock. It's not as thick as the sock yarn. What is it? Is it a special yarn for darning? Does anybody know? Does anybody have this yarn? This yarn is ancient. I bought it from Nantico Yarn Shop. That store opened probably, I'm trying to remember how long ago. That was the store before the store. The yarn store that's in my town that has been closed for quite a few years now, Nantico was the store before that store that was open and then closed. So this is vintage yarn, and I've never seen anything like this before. So if anybody can share some light on what that is for, let me know. So I am trying, this is a sock for me, and what I'm going to do is I'm knitting the full sock, and then I'm going to put an afterthought heel in, a short row heel. So I have to make sure I get it the right length before I stop and then put the heel in. So I'm going to do one sock, and I've got another ball for another sock, and any leftovers I'll just put into my sock leftover stash. And here's my other finished object. I did it. I finished Magnolia. I pushed through. I finished my front band. I finished all the ends. I actually washed it yesterday and hung it up on my sweater. What are they called? Anyway, you know, a Shetland sweater blocker. I hung it up on there, and I gave it a really good dry. I did do some, when I wash it, I roll it up. I take it out, squeeze out the excess water, roll it in towels and stamp on it. And I believe that is one of the reasons why this dried overnight. It's gorgeous. With washing, it just gives it that little bit of drape. I still am going to give it a press. The bottom, which people think, when we're knitting it, they complained about this bottom turning up. Well, it doesn't after you've actually washed it. I love this front band. You can see I did mine in 2 colors just to give it a little bit of an accent. And the front here, the pattern calls for it to be pinned, and I will use one of my sweater pins. I think I bought this one. I'm not sure if this one or this one came with the kit. I think it might have been this one. I'm not sure, I can't recall. But anyway, I'll use one of my sweater pins to hold it. And this is going to be absolutely luscious for the winter. It's gorgeous. Rowan felted tweed. And look at the detail, the way the sleeves are knit down, and then they're picked up to knit the over the sleeve piece. And the back, I don't know if you can see the back, but the back goes right across from one sleeve, one wrist to the other, right across the back here. I absolutely love it. So I didn't make too many modifications, but I always have to tweak everything just a little bit. So I'm all ready. My goal was to have this done because FairIsle 5 is going to be coming out in, the delivery should be November. I've just heard that FairIsle 5 is sold out. I'm sorry if you didn't join. If you have joined, I look forward to knitting along with you over the winter months on our throw projects in the Marie's British Breeds yarns. I had to take my Magnolia off because it's actually quite warm. The sun's come around to the front window, and so it's getting a little bit warm in here, so no jacket, no Magnolia. I've talked to you before about sustainability. It's become a major issue that preys on me these days. It does. I'm trying to not let it bother me, but you know, all the stuff in the news and that, it does bother me, I'm going to be honest. So one of the things is plastic bags. We're trying to eliminate the use of plastic here. I mentioned that. We bought Rubbermaid containers for all our kitchen goods, and the hubby's even into that. He reaches for one of them before he reaches for the saran wrap. That's my last roll of saran wrap. When it's gone, I will never ever buy another saran wrap again. So to help with the shopping, because there's still rolls of plastic bags in the grocery store, a friend of mine, and you can get this kind of thing all over, but a friend of mine, Val, she is Victory Stitches, and I'll put her link down below. She made up these shopping bags and offered them on her shop. And so I picked them up. I got some. I went over and picked them up from her. 3 small bags. They don't have any closures or anything because, you know, it's just like I look at this as like a little paper bag, but it's fabric. You put your thing in, you roll it over in the top, and that's it. it doesn't need to have a zipper. It needs to be, something needs to be really simple, really easy to throw in the wash. So 3 small ones, 2 medium-sized ones, and a large one. I'm thinking this will be like for potatoes or whatever. Things that have to be put in bags. I'm actually also going to get a metal, sort of a metal hamper thing for my produce, so that I can put it in. Anything that's big, like celery or romaine or whatever, that doesn't have to go in a bag, is just going to go into that hamper. Anything that needs to go in a bag for containment and for weighing is going to go in these. And I'm going to try and stop using plastic bags at the grocery store. If you have any other ideas about how to make shopping easier, please let me know down below. So to wrap up the August video blog, I'd just like to talk about what I'm planning for September. I mentioned just a little bit earlier the lavender that I picked up down the road. Well, it's drying nicely. It's starting to drop its little florets, and I am planning on making little sachets from them. Now Val is, she specializes in English paper piecing, and I'm going to talk to her about maybe how I can incorporate that into making my little sachets. I just want to make a few little lavender sachets. I don't know how much lavender I'm actually going to have from one bunch. I'm using this as an experiment for next year. If I need more, I will buy more, but I'm hoping to get a couple of little lavender sachets just to put in my, either in my lingerie drawer or in with my sweaters, just to give it a nice lavender smell. So that's one thing I'm going to do, make little lavender sachets. And I'm also going to start, in addition to my Koigu turtleneck, which is going to be an easy knit, and my socks, which are my travel knit, my big winter knit, which I need to get done before the FairIsle Club 5 starts in December, is, well, I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek. My new project is going to be done in Rowan's new Island blend. This is a combination of Falkland Island merino, alpaca, and silk. It's absolutely gorgeous. 70% wool. It's Falkland Island merino, 15% alpaca, 15% silk. It gives, there's a sheen to it. It's an absolute gorgeous yarn. I have wound up by hand a couple of balls just to have a really good look at it. Isn't that a beautiful center pull ball? I was really excited to do this. I used the inside of one of those paper rolls and made myself a hand wound center pull ball. So there is 125 meters, 137 yards in this skein. It knits up on a 4mm needle. It's only a 50-gram skein. They're small skeins. I'm not sure why, but anyway, they're small skeins. And it says Island Blend, made with Falkland fine merino wool, baby alpaca, and silk. Now you might not think of Falklands as a source of merino, but the great thing about the Falklands is it's basically organic. They don't do, because of the climate, they don't have to do sheep dipping and mule slinging and all that kind of stuff that people can, that we don't like about merino maybe in general, if you think about it. So Falkland Island's absolutely gorgeous merino yarn. There's 500,000 merino sheep on the island now. So I'm going to talk about this more when I review the Rowan Magazine 66. I'll be doing that in the next week or so, because the pattern that I'm going to be knitting is in that book, and it's actually going to be a combination of the new Island Blend and Rowan's traditional all-time favorite Kid Silk Haze. I can't wait to share this with you. One last comment about sustainability. There's been a lot of information out there about palm oil and how palm oil production is destroying forests in Malaysia, and you know, heartbreaking pictures of orangutans clinging to trees. You know, their trees, they don't want them cut down, and there's also the native population, they don't want their forest cut down. Their culture is that the forest has always sustained them, and now there are companies that have leased huge swaths of forested land and cut it down and created palm plantations for harvesting. Now, I didn't really know much about this. I just watched a video on BBC, and I'm going to link it down below. And it's a young lady who is a cosmetician. She lives in Frome, or is it Frome? Can't remember, Frome or Frome in the UK. And somehow the BBC and her went off to Malaysia to investigate palm production. It turns out that if palm production is done on the same amount of acreage, they can create much more palm oil than they can of the other, you know, cleaner, what people think of as cleaner oils like sunflower or whatever. Anyway, I was really quite amazed. She showed you both the bad and the good. Currently there is a palm company there, palm production company there, that has vowed not to cut down any more forest. After all, what's done is done. They've cut down forest. They're not going to cut down anymore. They're looking at how to create palm oil, more palm oil production from the land that they have. They hire local people. They provide a good income, and they seem to be doing, if we can, you know, if we're going to, they can't put the forest back. They are providing a sustainable production of palm oil. And I was very interested to see that I was very interested to see that L'Oreal was the only cosmetics company that would respond to inquiries from the BBC about this production. And L'Oreal uses 100% sustainable palm oil. If you watch it, you'll see there's other companies that are like 20%. Even the Body Shop is 50% sustainable palm oil. Now, if anybody was going to have sustainable palm oil use, you'd think it would be the Body Shop, right? It shows you that we don't, you know, when you say, oh, I'm never going to use whatever, you don't know everything. And I'm sure that this is biased too in some regards. This report is biased. But I learned a lot, and I'm always trying to learn. There's all sorts of things to learn in life, and we need to think about what we do and how it has repercussions in the world. So guess what? I'm now going to be a L'Oreal convert, and I'm going to replace anytime I need to buy a new product, I'm going to be replacing it with L'Oreal. And I really do hope that the palm growers get some kind of certification going so that we know what products are used with sustainable palm and what products aren't. All sorts of other, like the cocoa cocoa is one example. We love Kit Kats. Our Kit Kats now have grown with sustainable, that Kit Kats contain cocoa from sustainable plantations. That's the kind of thing I want to hear from now on. It's all these little steps. We can only do little tiny steps, but if we all do little tiny steps, it can make the world better. So until next month, take care. I was hoping to get Lucky to come and make an appearance. Come on, darling, up here. Come on. Come on, up here. Come on. That's a good boy. Say hello to everybody. Lackey is definitely food motivated. Can you not tell? He's not as laid back as Daisy. Even at 10, he goes from sleeping in the corner, which I just took a shot of him earlier before I started videoing, and then when he wakes up, it's like full on, I'm Lackey and I want your attention, I want to go for a walk, or I want to, whatever I want to do. He loves to sit on top of, on my lap, as you can see, and he looks outside and you know, he even sits here when I'm trying to knit. What do you think? Do you want some sockies too? No, he says I don't want socks. Here he is. Guess what? I don't want to say it too loud, but it's time now for his bath. Oops, did you see how his ears tweaked when I said bath? Oh, do you want to go for a bath, Maggie boy? Do you want to go for a bath? Do you want to go for a bath? Take care.